again, friends. So the Multi-Schools Council is a fantastic platform for young people with additional needs and without to share their voice and have an impact across Essex. And it's led by the wonderful Kierran Pearce, who I asked to join me on Zoom for a chat about Multi-Schools Council and the work that they do. Have a look. So thanks for talking to me today. So before we start, could you just maybe introduce yourself and tell me about how you landed in the role that you're in at the moment?
Yeah, so my name's Kieran and I lead the Multi-Schools Council, and that's all about breaking down perceptions towards young people with special educational needs and mental health difficulties. So I'm seconded from Marketfield School, where I've worked for just under 12 years. And the journey of that really has been something that we started back in 2012, which was very small scale, working with local schools to reach the objectives I just mentioned. And it's just grown since then, where Essex have now got involved and they've backed us, which has been brilliant. And we've been able to connect with a lot more schools and just continue breaking down perceptions. So it's been a real journey, but it's been exciting, and we've still got a long way to go as well.
Well, it definitely has grown, Kieran, because everywhere I go, I hear about Kierran Pearce and the Multi-Schools Council. So, the word's getting out and your reputation is getting around. So perhaps you could just tell us a little bit about what is the Multi-Schools Council and something about what are your aims and objectives?
So obviously, as I mentioned, it is around breaking down the perceptions. And the main way we do that is it's through young people. So there's no point someone like yourself and me sitting there saying, this is what we think children want to do. It's about going out and asking them. So we have 3 meetings across the academic year in each area of Essex. So we've got 8 strands at the moment, and that continues to grow. And the young people will be asked specific questions about, what do they want to see improving? And what are the things that matter to them? And that's children from all backgrounds. So we have children from special schools, mainstream, primary and secondary. And we've had pupil referral units, just all types of children, because they all deserve the same opportunity and they all deserve their voices to be heard. So I give them that platform. And then it's about, okay, so they've got these ideas. It's not just about listening to them. It's about then going and making something happen. So we can't always achieve absolutely everything that, that young person may want in that moment, but we can, give it a try and we can look at ways to do it. So we've ran different projects from that might be big scale, or there might be smaller scale where, we work with just 1 or 2 schools. And it's all about empowering young people. And that's what it's got to be about.
That sounds fantastic, Kieran. Can you just say a little bit more then about what have you worked on so far and what kind of outcomes have you noticed?
Yeah, so some of the bigger projects have been around, we've ran community fairs where schools from different backgrounds have come together and got in touch with the community. So that's all about, showing the community what children from special and mainstream schools can do together. So the impact there is something that we want to see over a period of time. And we've also ran inclusion weeks where we've had children from special and mainstream schools swap places for the day, just to, really open the eyes. Because one of the misconceptions that's out there is that we get children who come along to our meetings from mainstream schools who think that when a child goes to a special school, all they do is play. And we open their
children in special schools wish that was the case, don't they? That all they did was play.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But they're very vocal about saying that actually, we do have the opportunities if we want to do our GCSEs. And we still do English, math, science. It might be delivered in a slightly different way. And we might need more support in certain areas. But that's one of the impacts there as well, is just opening. I think back to myself when I was in school, I didn't have a clue what special schools were because we didn't speak about them. So it opens your eyes to that. I mean, other things we've done now are things that we've built on over this year. So we go in and we deliver SEN assemblies. So we talk about the different areas of SEN. We go in and we talk to classes about autism. So we run autism awareness workshops. And the impact there is that, in the assemblies specifically, we've had so many times, we have young people who at the end of the assemblies or within it have stood up and said, I've got autism or I've got ADHD. It empowers them, because although we use the word disability a lot, which is important because we need to make sure that, young people get the support they need, it's also important we talk about their abilities. And that's what we focus on in the assemblies, so that it empowers them.
Sorry to interrupt you, Kieran.
That's right.
But as I say, this is why I often I prefer to use the term additional needs.
Yes.
Because, all children have the same needs for love and warmth and learning and opportunity. And some children have some needs that are on top of that. And that might be that they have autism or ADHD or some sensory needs or sensory impairment, or it might be that they have a mental health difficulty.
Yeah.
But it's nothing about somebody being less than another person, is it?
No.
And I know what you mean, that having that label of disability, it almost like it helps to open gateways, doesn't it? Helps to open up pathways to resources and support and help. And it shouldn't really be that way.
No.
And that's one of the barriers in the system, isn't it? That actually we wish weren't there. One of the things that we'd like to break down, which is why the work you're doing is so fantastic.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. It is that pathway, but you're right, that pathway should be there. Schools should be inclusive, no matter the difference that child may have. So absolutely, and that's what the assemblies do. I think they empower young people to say, you know what, we're all different. We're all different, and it's about focusing on the ability. And then the autism awareness workshop. So one of the big misconceptions there is we still have young people say, "Can I catch autism?" So they think if they sit next to a child with autism that, you know, they may catch it, and obviously we address some of those issues. So the impact there is, you know, for me, it's about if you get to children in school, when they then leave school and go into society, there's going to be less discrimination because young people understand differences better. And for me, that's what it's all about.
Yeah, and I think that, you know, autism is my particular passion because I've worked in that field for 30 years, more than 30 years actually. Yeah. And what I feel about it is that autism is just a different perspective. It's not less than ours. It's different. And in fact, some of the benefits that we have enjoyed as a society in the world, in fact, have been precisely because we have people with autism. So there's so many things in this world that we wouldn't know about or wouldn't have happened if it hadn't been that there were people with autism. There would be no Hadron Particle Collider. There would be no moon landings. You know, half of NASA would not exist if it weren't for the autism population. Chris Packham as well on the BBC and all that he brings with nature. You know, the special interests that people with autism have bring something so special to the rest of the world. Yeah. And I really think that what I would love to see is that in the world we get away from this sort of neurotypical people watch people with autism and describe them as weird. Yeah. And I would really love it if we stopped doing that. Yeah, absolutely. Because actually, as neurotypical people, we tend to be obsessively focused on other people. Definitely. Social. All the time. That we miss out important details that we should have been focusing on what we're working on. Yeah. The people with autism is the other way around, can be very, very focused on details. And that means that if you give them some work to do, somebody with autism, a piece of work to do, they will do a spectacularly brilliant job because they're able to not be so obsessively focused on the social. And I think we need those things, don't we?
100%.
And I totally agree with you that, you know, the way to do that is to start when people are, you know, young people, children are young people.
And that's what young people with autism are telling us as well. You know, the autism is a part of them. It's not them. So they may learn in a different way and see things in a different way, but that doesn't define them. And they're really passionate about getting that across. You know, it's not, well, because I'm autistic, I can't do this. It's because I'm autistic, I may think this way about something or socially see something this way. And it's like you said, I think it's very easy to just see things from your perspective. But what we're trying to do is get young people to see things from different people's perspectives.
Yeah, 100% agree with you there, Kierran. The other things that I really would like to move away from is calling it an autistic spectrum disorder.
Yes.
I prefer the word condition. Yep. And also even going when children and young people find out that they are on the autism spectrum, it involves going usually to see a paediatrician, and that is called a diagnosis, which I think is a very loaded term. And then you find out that you get a diagnosis of a condition. And I think I prefer to say that children and young people have an assessment, and then there's confirmation of a condition. I just think just the whole terminology thing makes such a big difference, doesn't it?
Oh, 100%. That word you mentioned as well, disorder, when we do our assemblies with the secondary children, because they're slightly different, primary and secondary, I put that word on and I highlight it in red. And I ask the young people, why have I highlighted that word in red? And we obviously get some feedback. And the reason I do is because it's so negative. And I explain that why do we refer to it as a disorder? It's an order in the way that, you know, children work in different ways. Their brains order things maybe in different ways, but it's not a disorder.
Yeah, totally agree with you there. One of the other things that you mentioned earlier was about working with children and young people with mental health problems.
Yeah.
Obviously, this is another massive area. And I know that you've developed a resilience program. Can you just tell me a little bit more about that, Kierran?
Yeah, of course. So again, it started with our young people telling us that, mental health was something, a big issue that mattered to them in their schools. And that's children, again, with and without SEN. And what we did is we spoke to them about, what would help you in school so that it helps you and your peers with your mental health. So we developed a scale where young people told us about the different aspects of things that may matter to them in their school life. So it's things like friendship or things that could impact. So like social media, self-esteem, mood, all of those things that children identified. And then we set up a 6-week program, and that's been so successful. Schools have been biting our hands off really to get in there. And because the multi-schools at the moment is just me, the capacity to deliver that hasn't been as wide as we wanted to, but we've got plans for that in the future. But really the crux of it is we work for 6 weeks. At the start of the week 1, the children score themselves on how resilient they feel in these different areas. And then in week 6, they do the same again. And over the 8 schools that we worked with up until lockdown, 87% of the children that we'd worked with had improved in their own score of how resilient they felt. But it's really about getting that key vocabulary that we can talk about mental health and we can talk about resilience onto the curriculum.
Absolutely.
That's so important.
So important that actually it doesn't just become like an add-on, like another subject that's tagged on schools have to teach about, but it's actually embedded within pastoral care within all schools. Because I don't know what you've noticed in your work, but certainly over the years I feel like issues around mental health have almost become an epidemic amongst children and young people. It's been huge.
Yes.
And back in my teaching career, I think in the last sort of 5 to 10 years of my teaching career, the number of young people that were getting education, health and care plans and places in special schools because of mental health problems was rising exponentially.
Yeah.
So it's a massive, massive area for us to all sort of think about.
Yeah.
So can you just tell us a bit more, Kierran, about what you're currently working on? Obviously, we're in weird times, aren't we? What what are you currently working on and what are your sort of plans for the future?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like all of us, we've had to adapt without the face-to-face contact. I know we spoke about that before doing this. I mean, one of the ways is we've been delivering live sessions on Facebook, where we've been talking about mental health and resilience because we know that's so important at the moment. We started a podcast as well, which I know you're gonna do an episode for us as well, which is brilliant. And that's all been about we've been connecting with young people and getting their voices about the issues we spoke about, but also professionals as well. Because we've worked since 2012, we have managed to build up different links with parents or people who work within Essex. So it's good to get their views on different subjects. For the future, the big thing this year is we're calling it the transitional year. So as I mentioned earlier, at the moment it's myself and the young people who are delivering these things. What we want to see happen is we've got a fantastic opportunity at the moment with the new SEND structure. So in Essex, that's been with the redesign. What we want to do is get some of the multi-schools work that we know is working and we know is helping to improve how inclusive schools are. We want to transfer that into people's roles within the county. So we've got the new inclusion partners that we work in clusters with schools. The proposal from us is that some of these inclusion partners take on what we've started so they can lead some of the meetings, they can lead the workshops, and then it becomes embedded within Essex County Council. And then the layer that will always stay there at the heart of it will be the young people feeding back all the time. No, this isn't quite right. Or this is working well. This is really working well for us and we feel more included. Because that is where it should always, always start. Not here, this is what we think is going to work, feed it down. This is where it starts, feed back up.
That sounds brilliant. One of the things that I've always been frustrated about during my time working in Essex is this endless round of questionnaires that come out for parents and young people to fill out that seem to just disappear into the ether. Endless consultations and questionnaires, and nobody knows what's happened to them, and nothing seems to have ever changed. So I think that's so important. I recently spoke to Ros and Helen from the local authority, and this was in relation to the reasonable endeavours approach. And I hope to speak to them later in the term about the new SEND structure. And
Yeah.
I love your ideas there, Kierran. That sounds so brilliant to get, young people really involved and get that structure embedded in. And at the end of the day, we've all got to just do what we can to make the structure work well, don't we? Because
Definitely.
it hasn't been serving our children well at all.
No.
And I think that, obviously your platform with the voice of the young people and the voice of the parent carers is also increasing at an equal rate. So I feel like we've got every chance of making a difference, haven't we, by joining up?
Absolutely. Yeah, and it is about collaboration, joining up. But exactly what you said, we always say to groups we work with, we're happy to work with groups. However, it needs to go somewhere, because otherwise young people feel demotivated. We've said this, but nothing's changed, and that's not fair. So.
And that's been the recurring theme of the SEND system. I mean, and that's not just in Essex, but actually nationally.
Yeah.
The Education Select Committee produced their report earlier in the year, and it was just damning of the whole SEND system. So nationally, something has to change here.
Definitely.
And I really am a big believer that, we're no more than the sum of our parts. That,
Yeah.
Essex County Council hold the resources, and they are the sort of the government's appointed gatekeepers of those resources. But, there's an enormous amount of power in our hands too, if we just know how to use it and understand how to collaborate to get the best outcomes.
It is, and it's filtering it down, like we said earlier before speaking, because you could have the best singing or dancing local authority with a brilliant structure. However, if that's not filtered down to schools, to young people, to families, we're never going to get the benefit of it. So it's really important that that system works.
Yeah, that's so true. We're on the same page there, aren't we, Kierran?
Definitely. Yeah.
So tell me, if people watching this want to get more involved, how can other people and young people learn more, and how can they get involved, and what does getting involved mean?
Yeah, so obviously the crux of it is to get the schools involved. So we've got over 300 schools signed up now across Essex, which is brilliant, but we still want to get to every single one. So you can go onto our website, which is multischoolscouncil.org.uk, and there's a long list on there of the schools that are involved. If you're a young person and you don't see your school on there, go to your teachers, speak to them and say, we want to be part of this, because it's always better if it comes from you. However, parents can help with that battle as well. So our Facebook page is at Multi-Schools, and we get a lot of feedback on there. And we've had parents who have then gone to their schools and said, we've seen this on Facebook, looks brilliant, we want you to get involved, and then they do on the back of it. So that's really important. And the final thing to mention is the podcast. So if there's any young people that want to express their feelings about a specific topic, they can do. My email address is on the website I mentioned, but you can download any of the episodes for free by searching the Multi-Schools Lowdown on iTunes, Spotify, anything at all.
That's fantastic, Kierran. And all of those links and ways to get in touch that you've mentioned there, I'll share that with this video.
Brilliant, thank you.
Well, thanks so much for speaking to me, Kierran. You've done an amazing job. And
thanks, Sue.
Really keep up the good work. And I know that we'll keep in touch too, won't we?
Yeah, you too. Thank you, Sue.
As you can tell, Kierran and I are cut from the same cloth, both really passionate about what we do. And I really believe that connecting together means that the voice of children and young people and families can have a significant impact in Essex. I've shared all the links here to how to get in touch with Kierran and their website, and I hope that you will have a look, get involved, and encourage your young people to get involved too, particularly if their school is not listed as already involved. Hope you enjoyed it.